In the deep darkness of the Gulf of America, the bulk carrier Ocean Princess was adrift. Her engines were silent, her crew at ease. For 10 minutes, the two men on the bridge watched a strange light get brighter, but they refused to believe what their eyes were telling them. At 01:22, the 467-foot Ocean Princess struck the oil platform SP-83A at 4 knots. The damage was immediate. The investigation would uncover that the crew had every tool needed to prevent this. So why did they sail directly into a danger that was hiding in plain sight? The Ocean Princess was a workhorse of the sea. A 623-foot dry bulk carrier, her job was simple: move massive quantities of material across the globe. On January 6, 2021, her crew had just finished a grueling multi-day cargo discharge in New Orleans. The plan was to motor out into the Gulf, drift overnight while the crew cleaned the cargo holds, and then return to port to pick up a new load of grain. In command was a master with 31 years of experience. But that night, he was more than a captain. To give his tired crew a rest, he reconfigured the watch schedule. He himself would stand watch on the bridge, acting as both master and lookout. The goal was simple: keep the ship safe while it drifted in a quiet area of the Gulf, well away from traffic lanes. But they weren't alone in the dark. Their drifting area contained 3 stationary oil and gas platforms. One of them, SP-83A, was an uncrewed 4-pile steel structure rising 73 feet out of the water. It was painted bright orange, equipped with flashing white lights and a fog signal. It was a known, charted, and permanent fixture. The conflict that night was not between two moving vessels. It was a conflict between what was real and what was shown on a screen. The path to this collision is a chain of falling dominoes, starting with an error made years before, lying dormant in a database. Domino 1. The ghost in the machine. The platform SP-83A was correctly shown on the ship's paper charts, but on their primary navigation tool, the Electronic Chart Display and Information System, or ECDIS, it simply wasn't there. An unknown error in NOAA's database years prior had erased it from the official electronic charts. For the crew of the Ocean Princess, their state-of-the-art navigation system was showing them a safe, empty patch of water where a 162-foot-long steel platform actually stood. Domino 2. The fatigued mind. The master's decision to stand watch himself came at a cost. After a long day of work, he had less than 4 hours of rest before returning to the bridge at 2000. Investigators later concluded he was likely suffering from acute fatigue. And in the hour leading up to the collision, the VDR recorded him occupied with other tasks: 40 minutes reviewing stability calculations, a phone call to the company office, and a long, one-sided conversation about non-navigational matters. The master was on the bridge, but his focus was fractured. Domino 3. The fatal assumption. Around 01:13, the master saw a dim yellow light off his bow. He checked his radar. He checked the ECDIS. Neither showed a contact. He made a judgment call that would seal their fate. He decided the light must be from an oil platform 5 or 6 miles away. The second officer, using binoculars, saw the light too, but couldn't judge the distance. He looked at the ECDIS and saw a platform icon about 5 miles away, reinforcing the master's assumption. This was confirmation bias in its purest form. They found a piece of data that fit their initial theory and stopped looking. Domino 4. The silence of the second officer. Here, the chain of events could have been broken. The second officer had been plotting the ship's position on a paper chart. He later told investigators he was aware of platform SP-83A from that chart. He knew it was there. But because of the master's presence and authority, he made his own assumption that the experienced master must also be aware of it. So he said nothing. The one person who possessed the ground truth that contradicted the electronic illusion remained silent. The VDR captures the final, chilling moments. At 01:21 and 25 seconds, the master's voice is heard. It's getting closer. He finally realized the lights, now multiple flashing lights, were something dangerously close. He ran to the starboard bridge wing. For the first time, he was seeing the platform not as a distant light, but as a real, solid object directly in his path. The commands came in rapid succession. At 01:22 precisely, rudder hard to starboard, engine full ahead. It was too late. The ship was too big. The distance was too small. At 01:22 and 10 seconds, the Ocean Princess's starboard bow struck the platform SP-83 Alpha. 13 seconds later, the master's voice again, stating the unbelievable. Had a collision. So how did this happen? How does a modern ship with a professional crew hit a stationary object that they could see? The investigators had to answer that exact question. Their conclusion was not a single point of failure, but a total collapse of process. The probable cause, they determined, was poor bridge resource management. It meant a failure to use all available tools, a failure to communicate. They had 2 radar systems. One was in standby mode. The one they were using was set to a range of just 1.5 miles. The second officer saw the threat on paper but never voiced it. The master saw a light but didn't demand a rigorous verification of what it was. And it meant a failure to challenge assumptions. They built a mental model around a single faulty piece of information, the clean ECDS screen, and ignored the evidence of their own eyes that contradicted it. The charting error was the trap, but it was poor bridge resource management that made them walk right into it. The technology failed them first, but ultimately their own procedures and practices sealed the outcome. The investigation report highlights a powerful and deeply modern lesson captured in a single phrase: over-reliance on the electronic chart display and information system. The vessel's own safety management system warned that ECDIS could contribute to accidents rather than preventing them if not used properly. The crew of the Ocean Princess lived that warning. Their absolute trust in the screen created a form of tunnel vision, blinding them to the other sources of information: the paper chart, the second radar, and their own eyes. In the aftermath of the collision, the Ocean Princess became entangled with the platform. Her starboard anchor, which was not properly secured for sea, caught on the structure, and as the ship tried to pull away, the anchor chain was violently pulled from its locker. It was only at sunrise, hours later, that the crew could cut the tangled chain, freeing the vessel. The total cost of the damage to the ship and the platform was estimated at $1.5 million. The Ocean Princess sustained heavy damage to its bow, but its hull was not breached. Crucially, none of the 24 crew members on board were injured. And because the platform was out of service, no one was on it. There was no pollution reported. In this story of technological and human failure, there was, thankfully, no loss of life. Only a very expensive and very public lesson learned in the dark. The story of the Ocean Princess is a stark reminder that the most advanced technology is only as good as the human processes that govern it. It raises a critical question about professionalism in any field. How do you prevent a team of experts from falling into the trap of collective blindness or groupthink? What do you believe was the single most critical mistake made on the bridge that night? The charting error, the master's fatigue, or the second officer's silence? I believe fatigue was the main cause. Unfortunately, rest hours are a big problem in the maritime industry. Workloads and schedules are created that cannot be accomplished without violation of rest hours. Companies will find a reason to replace seafarers that allow delays to happen, even if it is due to rest hours. And the Coast Guard sets the manning requirements, which are oftentimes not realistic. All in all, rest hours are a complicated issue with several sides. What are your thoughts? This channel is dedicated to analyzing these events through the eyes of a current mariner, to understand the complex chain of decisions that lead to disaster, and most importantly, to ensure these lessons are learned and never forgotten.